In many discussions I have with companies, the focus is on outcomes that either have been achieved or that have not been achieved, or that the company is looking to achieve. Although I understand that outcomes are important, the problem is that most companies spend enormous amount of energy and time discussing why certain outcomes were achieved and why certain outcomes were not achieved. And it's very, very easy to build very elaborate lines of reasoning about why certain outcomes proved to be difficult or were either achieved or not achieved. To be honest, I feel that focusing on outcomes is the wrong thing to do. The challenge is that outcomes are often not only influenced by our own actions, but they tend to also focus on, are also influenced by several other factors. And if you're in a situation where you're trying to analyze the outcome of a certain outcome based on things that you can influence and things that you cannot influence, you're basically bound to come up with lines of argumentation and reasoning that have very little to do with the outcome itself, but rather what you're doing is you're building all kinds of incorrect assumptions about why certain outcomes have or have not been achieved. So if we should not focus on outcomes, then what should we focus on? Well, the right answer, I believe, is given by Socrates, which basically says, we are what we repeatedly do. And then he continues, excellence then is not an act, but an habit. So what we need to focus on is the systems that we use to generate outcomes. So even if we would have the perfect system and we can only influence 30% of the outcome, the focus should still be how can we improve the system that we're using for generating outcomes so that we can instead of focusing on the outcome, focus on the system that is generating those outcomes instead. So what is this system then? This system is a set of principles, of procedures, according to which something is done. So if we look at the company, typically it's basically what are the underlying assumptions for doing the work, what are the steps and procedures for doing the work that will then generate the intended outcome. So it's actions and the responses that individuals follow and execute. So in a way, it is the habits inside the company. So of course, we do not only want to use the systems, we also want to reflect on the systems. And whenever we get outcomes that we did not expect, the first line of reasoning that has to take place is this undesirable outcome due to a poor system, or is it due to other factors outside of our control? And if the answer is that it is factors outside of our control, we basically continue, but we should be very open to evolving and improving the system that we are concerned with. Because I think it is there that we should focus our energy. So to conclude, if you feel that you want to be in charge of your own destiny and not be jerked around by outside factors, the focus of your energy and attention should not be on the outcomes that you generate, but it should rather be to improve the systems that we are working on. So to paraphrase an ancient Greek poet, we do not rise to the level of our expectations, but rather we fall to the level of our systems. So when things go bad, it is our systems that save us. It is not our aspirations or our desire to achieve certain outcomes that will do that. So don't focus on outcomes, focus on the systems that you use to generate those outcomes.